If you have boomers with vision, Gen Xers with ability, those 45 to 59-year-old partners generating a lot of revenue. If you have millennials with potential to become those people, and then Gen Zers with drive, you have the best of all four generations.
Hey there, what's up, everyone? We're live. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Managed Partners Podcast. My goal is always to find interesting, smart people to bring great content to you listeners, my law firm owners out there. Appreciate you tuning in. And, today I think I found a pretty good, interesting topic that we've never covered, and hopefully it'll be helpful. It'll be helpful to me as I'm listening to Jonathan here. And I'll be playing along with him to ask him some questions and to dive deeper into his topic. So excited to do that today. So Jonathan, we will be talking about, I might mess this up, generationality.
Excellent.
In the workplace. And so, again, interesting topic. I have lots of employees across lots of different age groups, so I'm sure, again, I'm gonna learn a lot here alongside everyone listening. So excited to do that. So, Jonathan Sheppard, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Kevin. Really appreciate it, and look forward to having a fruitful conversation with you.
Hey, I appreciate it. We're going to. So, first question, the only real question I ever ask is, tell us your story, why you're sitting in the seat you are now, and talking about this on my show.
Well, the short version is I've been recruiting my entire adult life. Started recruiting when I was 19, always in the law firm space. And in 2000, after being mentored by some great people, started J. Sheppard Associates, a full-service attorney search firm. And I also own a company called JSA Advisory Services, and we'll get back to that a little bit later. I've always recruited from the biggest platform, partners in law firms, lateral partners with books of business who want to move. And about 4 years ago, I started talking with a candidate on screen, and, I said, this pops up on screen and the cartoon bubble pops up and it says old guy. And then you start talking to me. What you don't know is that I believe in what I call the generationality of work. 4 generations working together. Everybody's got a different need set. Everybody is what I refer to as generationally judgmental. The boomers hate the millennials and the Gen Xers. The Gen Zers think everybody doesn't know anything about technology and so on. And as I started having conversations with people about it, I realized it was resonating across all 4 generations. And when I talk about need sets, Kevin, I talk about, like, if you're a young attorney starting out, well, maybe beyond getting known in the workplace and stuff like that, maybe you're starting a family. That's, one need set. If you're a mid-career partner in that sandwich generation, maybe your need set is taking care of your kids and also taking care of your aging parents and figuring out, your life and lifestyle from there. It resonated so much, it kind of caught fire. We started adding couple of hundred followers a month on LinkedIn 2 years ago, started doing podcasts like yours, launched a YouTube channel in October, and it really, I told you that I own JSA Advisory Services, kind of forced me into the business of advising big law, mid-sized law, and boutique law firms on what I call intergenerational communication and collaboration. So that's what got me to you today.
Well, that's a pretty cool, unique background. My wife's actually a recruiter, and she's been recruiting for probably 20 years in the technical space. So I know that business somewhat from talking to her every day. But pretty cool. I mean, there's recruiting, and then what you've kind of morphed into and done is taking it to like a different level, and really having a better understanding of not just a good person that might fit this role, but more the challenges throughout a law firm that's, again, like you're saying, 4 different generations within that firm, and how they handle that, and how they're, taking advantage of understanding that versus just, filling a role. And then, yeah.
%. I contend, if you have boomers with vision, Gen Xers with ability, those 45 to 59-year-old partners generating a lot of revenue. If you have millennials with potential to become those people, and then Gen Zers with drive, you have the best of all 4 generations. If you're leading a law firm, it's up to you to put them in the right spots. And it's been very interesting because you talk about like, how kind of finding my voice and stuff. One thing that I talk to managing partners and committee members about is through this narrative, I'm talking to people who are more forward thinking, not only people that are looking for the next landing spot, but also people that are running firms. And it's a different time now. And people that are forward thinking are going to be the ones that really make hay. I'm sure your wife, recruiting in another arena feels the same way. It's like, what's coming is what's most important, not what's done.
Yeah, good point. I mean, no matter, again, like you said, boomers and I'm a millennial, technically. Didn't know that. Somewhere back here, I have an award for like millennial on the move, like for my city or whatever. And at the time when I got the award, I had a bad view against millennials to some degree because I owned a business when I was 23 and have always just, had my head down and worked hard. And then I found out I was a millennial. It was like, wait a minute. No, that's not me. And so that made me stop and think, it's just not, we're not all the same. I have plenty of millennials and Gen Xers and probably Gen Zs in my company. But, you can't just brush them all with the same brush, right? I got some 20-year-olds that are freaking crushing it.
They're killing it, right? They're just
they're
focused, they know what they want. I was talking to, someone and I said, I'm the youngest of the boomers and I believe in you guys. What do you want to do? And this probably holds true for you, Kevin. You want to do interesting work with good people at a fair wage. And then you want to go home and you want to have a life and you don't want to be defined by what you did for a living, unlike the boomer generation. And boomers and others have a hard time kind of understanding that. And it's funny because firms reach out to me now like I'm the attorney whisperer, like I have it all figured out. And I really don't. It's just stuff that comes out of my mouth every day, but it's my belief set. And if I consider myself an empowerer, like to say to a millennial like Kevin Daisy to say, hey, you bring a lot to the table. Like you didn't want a ping pong table and an open floor plan and all the things they assign to millennials. And one of the interesting things about Gen Z is they want offices with doors on them. And a lot of partners that are running law firms are like, oh, they're going to be on TikTok all day. I'm like, really? What they want to do is they want to come in, do their work, and then go home. They don't really want to be bothered with other people. So to your point of like, you have 20-something-year-olds on your team, they're killing it because they have the same mindset as you.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, again, the bigger your firm and the more people you have and you're trying to grow, yeah, you're going to have to hire these folks and different, these different generations, and you got to deal with it. They are going to be running your company or other firms or your competitors or whatever. So they're going to either go work for them and they're going to figure it out, or but if you're trying to grow your firm and continue to prosper, then you're going to have to hire these folks. You can't stay away from it.
So, and you have to figure out a way to really get the best out of it. I got a call from one of the top 5 largest law firms in the world. Somebody sent my videos to the managing partner of the New York office. And he was like, John, everything you're talking about is resonating with us. He goes, are you like a consultant or like, and so we had the conversation and he said, we can't get our first year associates to commit. I'm like, well, that's your fault. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, if the partners that are supposed to be there training them aren't there, then why are they coming in? I said, you know what I'm telling those associates? I said, I'm telling them, what are you doing? What are you doing? You spend all this money on law school. You're working for a top 5 firm and you're sitting in the Upper East Side apartment in New York City or in Brooklyn in your Lululemons or your Adidas sweatpants and you're thumbing your nose at the man that you're doing work in your living room. But here's what's going to happen to you. Your cohort who came out of school the same year as you is in the office and one day he's at the elevator and up comes this partner and he says, I'm Kevin. What's your name? Oh, I'm John. I'm an associate here. Oh, what department are you? You're in my department. Come to my office. I have some work for you to do. So I go to your office. I'm all excited, right? I do the work. I email it to you. You don't even respond. You don't thank me, nothing. A month later, here I am at the elevator again. Here comes Kevin with another person, Jane, and says, oh, this was the guy I was telling you about. What was your name again? Yeah, John. And Jane says, come to my office at 2:00. You go to Jane's office and she's on a call and she says, come in and sit down, listen in on this call, and then we'll talk about it. Now your cohort has gotten 2 benign touch points with partners that you don't get sitting in your living room. And when AI comes along in 18 months to take away the work you're doing, you're going to be going, what happened? And his response was, I got to put you in touch with the management committee. We need you to come in and start talking to people. It's not hard to figure out. It's hard to put into practice.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, that's on the law firm and the leadership to get this stuff to happen. So you just can't hire someone and say, well, they're not doing what we're supposed to do. They're not as motivated. And just across the whole group of people, like, this is their problem. It's their fault. It's your fault as a leader. And as a law firm, you need to adjust, like you're saying, and give those opportunities to these folks.
Today's episode is brought to you by Answering Legal. Now I just switched my company, Array Digital, over to Answering Legal, and it's made my life a whole lot easier. If I can't get to the phone, their 24/7 virtual receptionists take the call and take them through a full intake process, so we never miss new business again. Now, Answering Legal has been at this for more than a decade, and they specialize in answering phone calls for law firms like yours. They even have a brand new, easy-to-use app, and they integrate with all the top legal softwares and platforms. So, for my listeners today, we actually have a special deal of a 400-minute free trial offer of Answering Legal services that you can try out by going to answeringlegal.com/array. You can also call 631-437-4803 and use special code DAISY. That's my last name, DAISEY. So go check them out, and let's get back to the show.
The thing too is, like, there's lots of different firms that people can choose from. So maybe they want to go work at a small firm, or they can work from home and not be bothered, or maybe they want to be at one of the big firms and, again, getting that exposure and being in the office and talking to other partners that are out there bringing in business and things like that. Yeah, if anyone's listening and you're younger, getting the exposure and having that in person is going to set you apart. Being able to communicate and having a good personality and working on those things is going to help set you apart, especially with AI and all these other things that are coming out. People still need to work with people, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of people skills. Every attorney I've known is book smart. They got to eat the people skills and training them up. And, and I laugh at mid-career partners. They're like, oh, these kids today, they don't know, and I'm like, people taught you the ropes when you were coming up, and that's the way it was. That's how, it works. And, I find it very interesting because I did a Magic Partner Roundtable last summer, and one guy stood up in the presentation and he said, John, let's cut through all the BS. Like, what are the top 2 things you look for doesn't matter if it's a partner with a multi-million-dollar book of business or a first-year associate? And I said, that's easy. Want to write them down? I said, number 1, subject matter expertise. No matter where they are in their career, beginning, middle, or toward the end, they got to have a certain level of subject matter expertise. Number 2, good human being. Because if they're good human beings that are subject matter experts, you're a smart guy, you're running a law firm, you should be able to make a success out of it. And the room erupted into applause. I'm like, it's not hard to figure out. It just requires effort.
100%. Yeah. And that, we follow our core values. We fire to our core values, and, being a good person is way more important than do they have the skill in this one area, right? We can teach that. That's easy. You got a good person that's excited to be there and wants to do good work and have a purpose. We can teach them the rest. Obviously, in the legal space, having expertise or a focus area that you're well versed in is very important. So,
well, it's no different than the digital space you live in, right? You have people that have a knowledge of the digital space, but are they good at the client services piece? Are they good at the follow up? Are they good? Are they good at thinking thoughts for Kevin before Kevin has to think every thought? That kind of stuff. And that's really where you get valuable people. And, I tell people all the time, I live in the law firm space, but the themes that I'm talking about, they're universal to other businesses. I have some big corporate brands coming to me and saying, listen, we want you to come in and do a thought leadership piece for 50 people or 25 people. And it's not changing anytime soon. It's funny to me because it comes easily to me. I use the example with people how I knew it was never going to change, Kevin. My wife and I had our bathroom redone 2 summers ago. They did a great job. And 2 days after everybody left, the toilet leaked at the base. And so they send the plumber back in, and the guy is like beside himself. He's like, I told that kid, you take the silicone, you put it around, and then you take your finger and you make the seal. But does this kid listen? No, he's on his phone. He's smoking a cigarette. He's not listening to me. I don't understand. And he's going, this kid. And I said to him, I guess for a minute, this kid, how old are you? He goes, 28. I'm like, and you're bitching about the 19-year-old? And he said, you betcha. And that led me to believe, Kevin, that this never ends.
You don't know. We always blame the next generation, and
It's hilarious.
And so on. That's a cycle. It's been going on for 100+ years. If you look back, you can do the history on this. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I tell my kids this all the time too, like, because, my kids are 11 and 13, but they be on their phones, but they're, on their games, and they see their kids mostly online and stuff. It's like, you need to be able to talk with people, have conversations, and be likable and approachable. And then whatever you plan to do with life, college, whatever, if you can nail those parts, you're going to do well. And especially in a world that's going to become more automated and AI and things like that. Because if you right now you only have 2 or 3 people and cut out 20, who are you keeping? You know what I mean? It's those folks that you work well with, that are problem solvers, that can have good conversations and be proactive.
And
they're the ones that are
can
going to
build
win.
relationships. That's the big thing. Yeah, I was reading recently about a young lady that started, I believe it's called the Luddite Council, and it's basically a group of teenagers that were against technology, and they've gone to dumb phones, where it's just phone and email. That's it. And that's all, I mean, phone and texting, and that's all they want. And they're like, they put it down, and they're really about the in-person experience again. I'm based in New York City, and, there's a real appetite for people wanting to get with me in person. This is a great platform, and stuff. But at the end of the day, people say to me, oh, well, what's your core business? You do the recruiting stuff, and now you're doing this advisory work. I'm like, well, I always tell people I'm in the relationship business. That's kind of really what it is. And
Sure.
if you have good relationships, timing and circumstance takes care of everything else. That's the reality.
100%. I mean, I am an in-person type of person. Like, if I go to something, I tell everybody in the room. That's why my wife doesn't go to networking events with me or business events. But when I can get in person, I do it. When I built my company when I was younger, it was all in person, and I had to go network, and I had to meet people, and I had to offer, free value, and build up that way. And so I still, this is, the digital way for me to do that a little bit. But man, if I was in New York, I would be like, John, like, let's meet up, let's grab a drink, a coffee.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. And I do that right now. If I go to any event, Chicago, I'll go on LinkedIn. Who I know in Chicago, I'll make sure I line up a few meetings. And in person is just, today, in person is so much more valued and valuable. And, if I can meet you in person one day, it'll do a lot for the relationship we have versus this one time that we're chatting on a podcast.
Well, listen, as far as you and I will eventually meet in person, because I'll be down your way or you'll come up here or wherever it is, but I always joke with people. It's like the old joke, you may not, you may not like me, but you won't forget me when you meet me. And I had somebody, we were joking about that in a group of people. I was at a cocktail thing with a group of people, and a guy came walking up to us and he said, what's the matter? You don't remember me? I said, obviously you didn't make any impression.
There you go. Have you ever been, this is interesting, like, you ever been to like a drive-through? So Wendy's or McDonald's, whatever. And this has happened to me a few times. My kids love fast food when we go on road trips and stuff. And you'll get like someone at the window that is just so over the top awesome that you're like, why the hell are they working here? Maybe it's just a start for them, but just clear difference in their delivery and their enthusiasm. And you almost like want to offer them a job. You're like, holy, why are you sitting here? And maybe they got a plan. Maybe they're going to school. Maybe it's just a way for them to get out and talk to people. I don't know. But just when you see someone like that, you're like, wow, like that was impressive. And I'm at a fast food place. And where are they going to be in 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And I hope they take advantage of their gift, right?
Yeah. And it's not just young people. I mean, I meet a lot of mid-career partners who are subject matter experts, but they lack, they're good technicians, but they lack a little on the interpersonal stuff. And some of it is because of the intellectual level that they're at. And more, I advise them, I'm like, you got to put yourself out there a little bit. You gotta let people see who you are, because you may be in a conversation with someone that, oh, you're a pick any sports team fan, and so are they. And all of a sudden it's no longer like this kind of off-putting thing, but you have a little common ground, or maybe you talk about music or current events, and something like that. And I always find it interesting. I have a very good friend who's a managing partner of a firm. And I say to him all the time, here's $5. He goes, what's that for? I'm like, well, my personality. Well, and he's like, you're always like that. And I said, listen, it is what it is. But truth be told, it serves you, no matter where you are in your career, to be that rock star at McDonald's, to be that person that gives the kind of service that people don't get anymore or don't expect anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people you're going to go back to.
Yeah. Anyone listening, I don't care what you do, it'll serve every single person well if you can work on this piece. It's going to help you no matter where you're at. In your day-to-day life, it'll help you when you interact with people in the street or the store or whatever. And so it's just a good thing to work on and to be aware of. Sometimes I think about I know this. I was just at some legal conferences. I was at National Trial Lawyers Summit. Yeah, when you think about COVID, where it was like we weren't really meeting up, and then you go a few years in the future, and it's like thousands of people cram into a room, and it's awesome. People want to be in person, and they spend a ton of money to go be at this event and to learn, but mostly to connect with others and people they already know, and then to meet new people. And these are very successful lawyers that have already figured almost everything out, right? They're just trying to learn a little bit more, make connections, referral partners, see their vendors. But that's another great opportunity there too, to get in front of your vendors, like your marketing company or your call center company, whatever. And you want to be at the top of their list, right? Hey, want to meet in person. So there's so many in-person advantages and skills that we need to be teaching the younger folks and exposing them to, versus locking them up in a room and saying, hey, just go crack away and learn this stuff.
The leaders that can do that themselves while they're encouraging those behind them, those are the real winners. This one firm, I was talking to another very big firm, I said, well, what's the value proposition for you? Like, how's it going to make us more money? And I said, truth be told, if the things that I'm talking to you about, facilitating conversations, if your partners become more efficient generationally talking to one another and collaborating, and each attorney bills 1 to 2 more hours a week, that's it. It's going to be 100 hours a year per attorney times whatever your average bill rate is times however many attorneys you have. And that justifies the cost of somebody like me.
Sure, especially if you're a big business firm with 1,000 attorneys or 5,000
you're talking
attorneys.
about millions of dollars in revenue, and all it requires is a little focus. And, one of the misnomers about all of this, Kevin, is that, that younger people are thumbing their noses at what's being tried at certain firms. And I tell every law firm leader, the millennial and Gen Z generations, and even the younger Gen Xers, they give you credit for trying. Because there are so many firms out there that don't even try. And those are the firms that are going to lose talent. When the silver tsunami comes in 2027, with the bulk of the boomers aging out, there's going to be a hole in a lot of practice areas because they haven't brought up the Gen Xers to kind of have some of the relationships. Maybe give them a piece of the origination credit. They don't have to give away the farm, but they can give them a little something. And that way, they maintain that client when that boomer originator goes away. instead of having another firm swoop in and take their client away.
That's a good point. Makes a lot of sense. And just from a culture perspective, and going into a firm that has this kind of leadership, right? It's night and day. So say, a Gen Zer wants to go work somewhere. I mean, honestly, when they interview with the firm or talk to the firm, you get a sense of their culture, and they're kind of making a decision like, do I want to work here or do I want to work this other firm over there? And they're going to go where they feel most welcome, and then where they feel like they can make an impact, and then they feel like they're actually going to make a difference, and then also have a life and be able to, go home and have a family and all those things. I always tell everyone, like, your culture of your firm is your marketing. It is your brand, and it goes throughout everything. So if I call your law firm, how that Gen Zer answers the phone sets the tone, and it tells the client, what your firm's like. Do I want to hire this firm or not? And you need to work on all those things. And yeah, having that leadership and exposure for people across all generations and working with each other, if that's going well, then it's going to shine through. And that's you probably can't put a number on what that's worth.
It's so true. And it's so interesting. Really your generation, the millennials, were the first of it, because what did you have that other generations before you didn't? You had choices. Like, I tell people, like, if you don't have the right culture and the right people in place, there were other options for people to go to work. And it doesn't matter if it's a kid coming out of school or somebody who's 20 years into their career. Like, understand that it's no longer, oh, they should be happy working for us. That mentality is very antiquated. And if you have the mentality of like, listen, we want you to be a part of what's exciting here, what we're doing. I'm a 50-year-old partner and you're a 27-year-old associate. I'm going to bring you to client meetings. You're going to feel the pressure. You're going to feel the excitement, and you're going to want to be here every day. And that's something I'm trying to instill in those partners that are really running the show. And it's like, you guys have to understand, you could be a good cheerleader, but more importantly, you could be an empowerer. And there's nothing that you can do that's more important. Because why? Number one, it's going to make you a lot of money. And number two, it's going to create a team that you have that your clients want.
And it's like a, snowball effect, right? It's when you need another attorney, you're attracting the right ones, and the employees you already have, the attorneys you have, are going to go tell their attorney friends and people that are like them, hey, who do you know that's like you? Well, I got an awesome friend of mine who just came out of law school that would be a great cultural fit for us. Cool. Reach out. We're trying to hire.
I engage firms now based on their culture. I have one client who says, boy, you just get us. It seems like every other person we hire comes from you. And I said, I appreciate that. But the reality is you guys have a good story to tell. I said, the word I use is you're intentional about making people a success. If they're a partner with a book of business, you have a great business development plan for them. If they're an associate, you have a great mentoring and training program. You're intentional about making people a success. That's what people want.
That is, that just made it was an interesting thought I was having as you're talking there. From what I know, I'm just talking about recruiting now, like, if attorneys are listening and use a recruiting service, or you never have, or whatever, reach out to John for sure. But most recruiting that that I know of, because I'm kind of, from afar, but it's more like, hey, you have these skills. They're looking for this. Here's the project or the contract or whatever. And it's really less details on like, hey, this is like what it's like to work there. This is the culture there. This is, what they believe in there. Here's where they're going. Like I'm going to share this with my wife, because I don't know if she has these conversations or even has that information, but that would do a lot more for me if someone was like, hey, Kevin, what if you came and worked for us and left your job, and here's the potential, like, versus like, hey, you make this much money, you work on these things. It'd be a lot more appealing if it was like, hey, they're doing some awesome stuff over here. Check out what they're doing. The staff there is like super happy, and the culture's awesome, blah, 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 blah.
Be a part of things. That's kind of what it is. I had a large law firm client, person say to me in a meeting a number of years ago, she said, we like working with you because you don't think outside the box. You think inside the person. And we need more of that here. I said, first of all, great line going on the website. Great line. I said, but it's kind of true. Like, you want to get inside people and you want people to get inside of your operation. And then, listen, again, in the law firm space or in other businesses that require certain degrees, yeah, they have to have a certain amount of technical ability and experience. But it's really about who they are and who you are. And now you have, it's the fault line, Kevin, it's the 2.5 younger generations against the older generation and a half. And the 2.5 younger generations are saying, if you don't let me be me here, I'm going to go do it over.
And the worst thing you can have is putting people in charge of things that don't care.
Right.
Right? Like, they need to truly care. And I talk about this all the time. Like, they need to have mental ownership of your company. They don't have actual ownership of the company. Mental ownership, where they're like protecting the culture. And when a bad apple comes in, they're like, hey, this person doesn't fit over here. Something's weird, something's wrong. And that's what you want. You want that to be weeded out as quick as possible. And then they're protecting the culture for you, basically. And saying
your brand. And your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, that all comes through. And then when you put them in charge of let them be leaders, they're going to take that serious and they're going to protect everything, right? And that's how you can grow and scale. You need people to grow and scale. That's just the only way it's going to happen. If not, you're going to have chaos, issues, fires to put out. As an owner, you're never going to be able to walk away or go on vacations. So you need to have people you trust, but they have to have mental leadership. And I think the best way to do that for me, I think, is sitting down with those people. Hey, what do you want to accomplish? Not take outside of work. What are you trying to do? You want to buy a house? You want to move to Europe? Like, what is it really? And it has to be open and transparent. And it might mean to lead to where they're not even there anymore. But if that's what their goals are, then you need to talk about that.
100%. One of the most overused phrases in my world, work-life balance. We'll give you a work-life balance. There's no such thing as work-life balance. It's about work-life rhythm. How does your job fit into the rest of your life? That's really what you're talking about. And at the end of the day, people that will share Kevin Daisy's belief system and how he delivers the service that he delivers to his clients are going to be people that thrive in his companies. And if they thrive in his companies, the companies are going to grow. That individual is going to have more opportunity and a happier professional life. Doesn't mean that they're going to have balance. It means they're going to have better rhythm.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we work, majority of our life is at work. And so, yeah, I like the work-life rhythm. That's awesome. So, yeah, but you have to have those conversations. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do? And it can be small, like, I want to run a marathon. Okay, well, that means you need to train, you need some time off. Like, what can we do to help? So whatever it may be, like, I've seen through a lot of employees too, like that are younger, they don't have goals. And they've been like, well, I've never really thought about that necessarily. When you say, what's your financial goals? What's your personal goals? What's your professional goals? Do you want to be the CEO and you're now the intern, right? So how does that look on paper? Like, how do we get you there? Can we get you there? What's more realistic? And I have interns that now, run whole teams. I got two presidents that were, in their 20s that run our companies that make hundreds of thousands a year and run full teams. And so it's not about their age either, but what is their goal in operations? Hey, I'm an intern today, but I'd really like to run another agency, Kevin. Are you going to start more? Yep, because that's our plan. We already tell everyone that. We are growing companies and we're continuing to expand, so everyone here has opportunity. And for someone that doesn't want that, they'll kind of be like, I just kind of want to turn the wrench and go home, and I'm not interested in all of
There's
that.
a place for those people too. And, but you're not going to be the one in the CEO suite. I played around the golf last summer with two guys who turned out to be 29 years old each. One was, he worked for one of the big investment houses, and the other one worked for a consulting firm. And they said, what do you guys want more? You want advancement or recognition? And they were like, advancement, because if you're advancing us, we already know that we've been recognized. I said, yeah, you don't want people to pat you on the back. And one of them turned around and like sneered it. He's like, yeah, I want them to look me in the eye. I said, oh, but what happens when they look back? What do you got? That's what you really need to focus on at 29 years old. Like, what are you bringing to the table? Because if you want these things, well, you can earn them, but you have to earn them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the secret to happiness is accomplishment, completing things, getting things done, feeling you're contributing, and then yes, being able to feel like, yes, I have earned whatever it is. Right, this is on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. Right, I've earned this next thing I'm going to be doing. I've earned this because I paid off my truck or my house or whatever. Right, you're earning along the way, and life is just a constant achievement of things. You can tinker around the garage and build something and go, oh man, this just feels good. Versus you sit around all day on the couch and then you feel kind of crappy all day, like because you're just like, I didn't accomplish anything today. It doesn't feel very good.
I don't know if you experience this. How many people talk about earning a seat at the table? I want a seat at the table. Well, you have to earn it, and that's earned through giving it a good rip every day, performing, succeeding, failing, doing it the right way. That's how you earn a seat at the table. You don't earn a seat at the table because you went to the right school and you're 4 years out of school and all of a sudden here you are. Or you've been working for the firm for 20 years and you're a good, partner and you're doing okay and you just think you deserve a seat at the table. That's not what it's about. You have to earn it.
Yeah. Can't just slide by and do the minimum, right? But yeah, so yeah, back to your point, I think, communication, in-person skills, emotional intelligence, having those things and learning those things and working on those things. Not everyone's going to have those things by default, but that's going to catapult you and put you in a better position for sure. And especially if you, as a law firm owner or leader, if that's, your culture, again, the person that wants to kind of slide by or not really work that hard, they're not going to fit in and they're going to go away from you. They're actually going to go, I don't like that. That's weird. That's too much work over there. So.
It's different for everybody. The one thing I tell everyone with my generational conversation, Kevin, is if you can figure out who you are and then who the other 3 generations that you're not a part of are, and you can navigate the landscape a lot better, then you're going to get ahead no matter where you are in your career. Firms and organizations that have belief systems have all been upended really since before the pandemic, since probably the 08-09 financial crisis. Like they're trying to figure it out. The ones that are trying to figure it out, they want to listen to your voice, no matter where you are in the generational line. What they want are people that are engaged, like you said earlier, people that show up, people that create the human contact and all of that. That's really what's going to separate one group from the other.
No, great, great topic, great advice, great conversation. Yeah, I think, a starting point is like that one guy is like, he's 19 and, or just complaining. So if you hear yourself, I think complaining just that, oh, it's those young people or those Gen Zers, then you're just you're doing damage right there. So just take that out of your thought and vocabulary, because again, I have folks in every generation, and it's been successful and it's working well. So you got to look at the person, plan for, at scale, plan for what the generations are looking for, what they want, and how they're different. But just take the negative thoughts about them before you've met the person.
Yeah,
out the window.
It's very true. It's like find the positives, bring it out in people, make them feel the love, and then you'll be able to get through who's great, who's just good, and who doesn't fit your culture.
100%. Being proactive. I like it. So, well, John, I appreciate you sharing. It's an interesting topic for sure. We could probably continue to chat about it for a much longer time. But interesting work that you're doing. Obviously, anyone listening, connect with John. We're going to ask John right now, how's the best way to connect with him. But cool stuff. I mean, if you're having these issues or concerned about this, as maybe partners age out or things like that change, talk to John. Look at his content. Follow him on LinkedIn. John, what's the best way for someone to reach out and have a talk with you?
You can get to me at jsheppard at jsheppard.associates.com via email. They can check out our LinkedIn page, our YouTube channel. If they search J Sheppard Associates on YouTube, and through all those platforms, they'll be able to get to me. And really appreciate the time today, Kevin, to talk to you and your listeners and viewers about this topic. I feel like it's never ending, and there's a new challenge every day for all of us.
Amen to that. It's going to always be, right? So we got to keep working at it. And things are always going to be changing. So, well, I appreciate you sharing today, everyone. If you any reason need a connection or you can't find Jonathan for some reason, ping me. I'll get you connected. I'll do an email introduction and hook you guys up. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Jonathan, we'll see you soon. Yes, sir. Bye, everyone.